Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemens, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We are coming to you, not live, pre-recorded tonight from the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios in Lubbock, Texas. This is Friday, July 26th, and we are live on the radio, but we're not really live in the studio. This is a brand new show that we're doing for you, but we recorded it earlier this week to bring it to you on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. And we're going to even send it out to you guys on social media at the Rock Health and Wellness Centers, on our YouTube channel at Health from the Rock, and on X at Dr. Jason Clemens DC. We're doing all this exactly at the same time, but we did it recording because tonight, Friday night, I am in Dallas, Texas at Parker University at NeuroCon. NeuroCon is a seminar that's being put on by Parker University. It's all about neurology. It's all about learning and trying to get smarter for you guys, and that's what I'm actually doing tonight. It's kind of cool. I'm sitting here doing this recording from the studio, and you're going to get it live, and it is a pre-recorded live show. We're doing it. It's a brand new show for you, but it's just kind of awkward because I'm talking about being here with you, but I'm not really with you because I'm actually in Dallas tonight at NeuroCon. I'm with MJ and Kati. I'm with Nate, one of the future doctors, and I'm with Chaley Alsafar tonight. I hope all that goes well. I hope that's what we're doing. But the keynote speaker for NeuroCon this year is Dr. Andrew Huberman from the Huberman podcast. So it's super cool that he's getting to hang out with some chiropractors because I know he needs that chiropractic education and learn about what we do. Because it's just one of those things that people don't understand. People don't really understand what we do, and so I'm super excited for him. I'm super excited that he gets the opportunity to hang around and see what we do in chiropractic and see what chiropractic neurology is all about and see what the nervous system is all about, because I think it's something that I think it would serve the whole world if Dr. Huberman knew more about chiropractic. And I'm super excited to be there with him, to be able to hear what he's got to say. And, there's so many of his podcasts. If you guys don't know him, you can go to YouTube and look him up. Andrew Huberman, Huberman, Huberman. He is a neuroscientist, ophthalmologist, I think, from Stanford University, and teaches. And he's got, most of you guys have heard of him, know about him. He's got a huge podcast, global podcast. He's getting to be globally known, does a great job with what he does, and brings a lot of information to us. And we've learned a lot. You guys have learned a lot because I've learned a lot talking to or listening to Dr. Huberman's podcast and bringing those to you. So I'm super excited to get to spend some time with those guys in Dallas. I haven't been back to Parker College in a long time, at Parker University, excuse me. I haven't been there in quite a long time. They've had so many changes and upgrades, and there's a lot of things that are going on at Parker that I'm really excited to see. They had a tornado hit a few years back, and it hit the school, tore up a lot of the school, so they had to rebuild a lot of the school. And a lot of that rebuilding stuff I haven't seen yet. So it's going to be great for me to be there. But I didn't want to miss the show, and there's some things I wanted to bring to you guys tonight. So I thought we'd go ahead and do this podcast. We'd go ahead and make a show. So I pre-recorded this earlier, and I want to bring some information to you. And then we'll be back live on Monday night at 6:00. So that's what we got going on tonight. So what have we done this week? Well, Monday and Tuesday, we've had some really good shows. Monday, we were talking about, one of our guys that mainly got into talking about a child that's on anxiety medication. And that really bothers me a lot. It bothers me a lot for that child. It bothers me a lot for that child's future and for the future of that child's children. And it bothers me a lot for the way that we think it ought to be handled when a kid has anxiety. So on Monday night, we went over that. We started into that. Tuesday night, we followed it up with some ideas that, to kind of develop the thoughts that we had on Monday. We got into attention a little bit. And then Wednesday night, we did our book review on Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, Dr. Daniel Amen and his book. And so so you guys, if you didn't catch that show, you can go back on Wednesday and catch that. And you can go either to, a lot of times we can share them on the on the Walk by Faith Facebook page, or you can go back to the Rock Health and Wellness Center's pages, and you can find those, and you can get into these podcasts. But that's, it's been a while since we had a book review. It's just my fault. I've gotten so busy, and I've got a whole stack of books over there I want to get to. I've got several books that I've purchased that I just haven't had to get to yet. And so I hope you liked it. Hope you guys that listened to the show on Wednesday. I hope you liked the book review. And then on Thursday, we took a combination. We took a combination of the book review that we did, and then we kind of matched it up with the Master and His Emissary, because of some of the things that we talked about in the book, and some of the things that we talked about on Monday night when we were talking about attention. Monday and Tuesday, we talked about the brain, and we were talking about attention. So, there's some things there's a little bit of a few things that I don't necessarily agree with in Dr. Amen's book, but I appreciate him writing it, and I appreciate all the work he's done. And when you match it up against what we know about the Master and His Emissary, and then what we know clinically in the office, and what we know from a wellness standpoint, not from a sick care standpoint. So now Dr. Amen's got years on me, and he's got thousands of cases that I haven't tried and that I haven't worked on. So I don't mean that in an arrogant way to say that I disagree with him. I don't buy this idea of the chemical imbalance, and I don't buy this idea that we have some sort of genetic problem in the brain. And that's, he said two out of the 3 kids he has deals with ADD, and then he tied that into a genetic problem. And I was like, okay, look, like, that just doesn't match to me. 66% of your children have a genetic disorder that gives them ADD, or is it a neurological firing pattern that maybe we can get out of? And so that's the thing. Is it a neurological firing pattern that we can get out of? And can we, what can we do about that? And how can we fire the pathways in a way that we need them to fire in order for them to function as well as they can and not manifest those diseases? And so that's kind of what we've talked about so far. And so tonight, what I want to do is I want to get into an article that's from Dr. Murphy in our article review process that you guys might think is quite interesting. This is an article from the European Heart Journal. This was July 12th, 2024. So it's kind of right off the presses right here. Volume 45, number 27, pages 2439 through 2452. And Marco Wachowski and a bunch of guys put this together. We've got guys and gals put this together. This study cites 66 references. And the title of the article is Xylitol is Prothrombotic and Associated with Cardiovascular Risk. Let me read it again. Xylitol is prothrombotic, meaning it causes blood clots. Xylitol causes blood clots and is associated with cardiovascular risk. So you guys might have heard of xylitol. You might be using xylitol. You might be, it might be part of your normal diet process. And so this one's just brand new. This is the brand new release that Dr. Murphy has put out. And so I thought it would be great to talk about it, because I think I'm just trying to bring the information to you. I think you might want to know this information. So let's get into it tonight. All right. So let's talk about sugar alcohols. That's what it is. Sugar alcohols or polyols are hybrids of sugar molecules and alcohol molecules. Some sugar alcohols occur naturally in fruits and vegetables. The sugar alcohols that many companies use to sweeten foods are produced industrially. Sugar alcohols are low-calorie sweeteners, not zero-calorie sweeteners. So what they've done is they found a way, and they found a way to make something sweet and have less calories. Okay, but as I was studying this and I was reading through this article, the first thing that popped into my head was, why do we do that? Like, why would we need to, there's a logical sequence that goes along with it. It makes total sense that we would recognize the bad effects. One of these articles that I looked up just did some introduction, and this is on PubMed. It was the Journal of Food Drug Annals. I don't know. Published online March 15, 2021. Suitability of sugar alcohols as anti-diabetic supplement, a review. And so this was non-tocozo. I don't know that. Nontokozo is the author of this one. But there's an article, there's an abstract, there's a talk. But in this introduction, just listen to this introduction for just a second, okay? The global prevalence of diabetes is increasing progressively, with an estimated 463 million people living with diabetes and a projection of 700 million by 2045, the vast majority of whom have type 2 diabetes. Epidemic of diabetes has astounding healthcare expenditure and significant impacts on the quality of life. In 2019, the global diabetes-related healthcare expenditures reached an estimated 760 billion US dollars, with a 14.5% increase from 2017. From 2017 to 2019, there was a 14.5% increase in global diabetes-related healthcare expenditures, and the expenditures were estimated at $760 billion. $760 billion for a disease that is basically completely by choice. I mean, you could take a small handful of those people. We're talking about 700 million people by 2045 estimated to have be living with diabetes, and the vast majority of whom have type 2 diabetes. Now, so I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes, and that's what they're trying to handle with when they get into these sugar alcohols. Well, I was reading this and I just thought, man, that is just amazing. It's amazing that there's that many people who are dealing with it. There's that much money that's being spent on it. And so what the progression, you can see what kind of happens, right? It's like all of a sudden we've got this massive increase in people who are diabetic. Now, it's not by accident that they're diabetic. It's 100% by design that they're diabetic. Don't forget that, right? That's 100% by design. It's 100% by marketing. Sorry, I'm just backing up, but you got to back up again, and you got to back up again, and you got to say to yourself, okay, look for a second. You take a kid, graduates high school, goes to college, decides he needs a major. He needs a major in college, right? So he picks marketing. He or she picks marketing, and he gets a marketing degree, advertising or marketing degree in college. So what is the natural progression of that kid? The natural progression of that kid is to graduate and want to get a job. Now, what's his college going to do for him? Most likely his college is going to set up a job fair. His college is going to set up a job fair. That's what they do at Texas Tech all the time. They set up a job fair, and then they invite all these big companies in to try to look for the best talent so that they can recruit those kids to come work for them, right? So they'll have a big job fair, and this kid that just went to college, just spent however much money to get a degree, needs to get a job. His parents are like, boy, you better get a job, or girl, you better get a job. You can't just graduate college and not work. So you got all this student loan debt. You better get a job. So who's going to come to the job fair? Marketing. Some of the people that are going to come to the job fair are people in the food industry. Craft is going to come there. All the people, I don't even know, General Mills and all those people that are going to come to the job fair because they need marketing people to market their product. They need someone to sell their Tostitos. They need someone to sell their goldfish, right? And so this kid that just graduated high school from every high school in America, just a good kid. You're probably one of these good kids that just graduated high school somewhere along the way. You went off to college, got yourself a marketing degree, went to your job fair, and then here comes Frosted Flakes. And Frosted Flakes comes along, and whoever makes Frosted Flakes comes along and says to you, hey, we got a job for you. We're going to start you off and pay you big money to come be a marketing person for us so that you can market Frosted Flakes. And that kid's just going to naturally they're going to get several different offers. They're going to get an offer from Frosted Flakes. They're going to get an offer from Snickers bars, and they're going to get an offer from Rainbow Bread, whatever, right? Okay, they're going to say, man, I love that Frosted Flakes offer. I think I'll just go take that Frosted Flakes offer. Mom, Dad, guess what? They're going to call home and they're going to tell them that, hey, I got an offer to go to work for Frosted Flakes. Me and Tony the Tiger, I get to work with Tony the Tiger. Can you imagine how exciting that's going to be? And Mom and Dad are going to say, good job, kid. Atta baby. Good job. That's a way to go out there and work hard. And we're so proud of you. We're just so proud of you that you're just going along there and you did a good job. You graduated. You worked hard and you got yourself an offer. And now you're going to go to work and you're going to be marketing Tony the Tiger and Frosted Flakes. And so that kid is excited. That kid's just excited. And now all of a sudden that kid's going to move off to wherever. They're going to move to Dallas, or they're going to move to Chicago, or they're going to move to LA, or wherever Tony the Tiger's at, and probably Battle Creek, Michigan, or someplace like that, right? And so now that kid's going to get a desk, and they're going to be on a team. They're going to get introduced to the head marketing person and the other marketers, and they're going to all join the softball team, and they're going to, go to lunch at Chipotle, and they're just going to go get them a Starbucks and a latte and all that stuff. And it's like, dude, hey, let's get to work. I mean, we're going to go to work, and we're on a team, and we're in an office, and we're obligated to work, and we're obligated to earn our paychecks. I know you think I'm crazy, but that's the natural progression of that kid, right? So what is that kid just going to do? They're going to work their tail off to try to do the best job they can to make their living, to make their boss happy with them, to make their parents proud of them, to make their spouse proud of them. They're going to try to do the best they can to market that Frosted Flakes to those kids, and they're going to say, how can we sell the living heck out of these Frosted Flakes to kids? How can we do that? And I don't know if it ever happens. I'm not exactly sure if anywhere along the process, I don't know, maybe in their 20s, I don't know if they stay in the marketing process for a longer period of time, they get to be in their 30s, maybe they start to have kids. Maybe they have some kids, and then maybe they get a little bit further on down the road. And then maybe, do they ever stop? Do they ever stop and think for a second, we shouldn't be marketing Frosted Flakes to kids? Like, is that actually detrimental to the children that we're working for? And I would think that would be like a moment, like a real heavy moment in that person's life. That they would really, I would think they would think to them, like, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they're like, hey, screw this. I'm making a lot of money. We got a 401k, and I got a retirement plan, and man, we got two nice cars, and we live in a nice house, and I'm working my way up, and I'm getting promotions, and I'm becoming the head marketer of the whole division now. Like, I got all of the division, and I'm just really getting after it. And I'm working really hard to be really good at my job, and I'm studying, and I don't have time to be thinking about that. I'm not going to think for 1 second whether or not I'm creating diabetes in these children, because I don't have time to think about it, right? So what ends up happening is we got a global prevalence of diabetes that's got 463 million people living with diabetes, and the majority of those people have type 2 diabetes, which is insulin resistance diabetes, which is now causing global problems and costing us $760 billion. It's really, really sad. It's sad that we couldn't figure that out. It's sad that we couldn't, that we never thought of that. That kid never thought of that. And they just went along. And so now what we've got here is we've got the World Health Organization issuing nutritional guidelines not only to reduce the consumption of added sugar, but also to reduce the daily energy intake from refined sugar. The World Health Organization, which are not my most fabulous people that in the world. I don't much care for them really, but at least they are saying something there. They're saying, look, this has become such a problem that we need to reduce sugar. So now we got another set of kids that graduated high school, that went to college and became biochemists. They were super smart kids. And they went to college and they became biochemists, and they went to their fabulous job interview and their job fair put on by their college in whatever college they were in, and their people came. And now all of a sudden we got some makers of some artificial sugar. And they're like, hey, listen, we can solve this problem that we have. We can solve this diabetes problem if we can figure out a way to make a sweetener that doesn't have so many calories, and it doesn't have such an impact on insulin. And how can we go about doing that? Let's get in the lab and see if we can make it. And that's where we are with our xylitol, right? That's what we've come to right here. I got all that in the I got all that in the first 4 sentences of this article. It's like xylitol is prothrombotic. It's bad for you. Like, it's causing blood clots and it's increasing cardiovascular risk. It's like, okay. Why? And I thought, it's just like, I got all that thought process from reading that. It's like, why are we making that in the first place? What is the mechanism that caused us to make the xylitol? Too much sugar. What is the mechanism that caused us to get too much sugar? Greed, right? What is the mechanism that caused us what is the mechanism that causes each human being to increase? Is there an increase? Is there a possibility that 14.5% increase that moved us up to $700 billion, whatever that number was, $760 billion, 14.5% increase from 2017 to 2019, could it have also been going on at the same exact time that our left hemisphere was decreasing in function? Could that be an actual thing? And I think that it can. I think it can be, and I think those two things are related. And in a wellness world, I would want to solve the diabetes problem by getting back to the brain. That's the way I would want to work on it. I would want to say, hey, look, we got to get these kids' brains functioning properly, because they're coming to my office with anxiety. They'll come into my office with anxiety and on anxiety medications at 8, 9, 10 years old. And anxiety medications are overactivity of the right hemisphere, and then our ADD is on the underactivity of the left hemisphere, and our decreased dopamine is on the underactivity of the left hemisphere, or in the communication between both hemispheres. And what happens when you decrease your dopamine? You go looking for sugar. And when you go looking for sugar, you increase your intake of sugar, and what do you get? Type 2 diabetes. And now it costs us a lot of money. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create a solution to the type 2 diabetes that's going to cost us a lot of money, because it's going to cause blood clots and cardiovascular disease. And no one's going to talk to those parents about what's happening. No one's going to tell my parents, would you quit buying Frosted Flakes and Lucky Charms? Would you stop cinnamon rolls? No one's going to tell us. You know how many of those Pillsbury cinnamon roll packets I've eaten in my lifetime? I can't tell you. It's probably it's in the hundreds. I guarantee it's in the hundreds. Was just unbelievable lack of thought. Don't know that you don't know. Remember that deal from Monday night? The don't know that you don't know. And then don't know what to do about it. Don't know how to get out of it, and just, oh my gosh, it just snowballs on us, right? Okay, let's get back to the article. We got just a second here, and then we're going to take a break. And so let's get us to the break. Got about 50 seconds left, and we'll get to the break, and then we'll come back, and I'll just get into the rest of that article for you and talk to you about xylitol. You may have it right now in your gum. You may have it in some of the sweeteners that you have at your house. So or some of the food that you have. You may have heard that it's good for you. I just want to share the article with you. We'll break it down. We'll do all that sort of thing. Be a little bit different. You guys that are with me on social media, we'll map this out. We got to change the recordings and kind of do some stuff, but just stick with us, and then we'll see if we can get it all transitioned over and get to the second half of the show. So you guys just stay tuned. We'll be right back right after these messages. Yeah, it was so funny earlier when I was doing it for you guys that are on the social media part of it. It was so funny when I was doing this recording earlier because I had to actually I have all these timers things that I'm trying to set so that I can actually record and get it done properly and send it off properly and all that sort of thing. And so I was trying. I know that I know it's not the proper way to do it, but it's the way we're doing it at the Rock. It's so funny. One of the guys came in this week and he listens to the show every once in a while, and he told me, he was like, I listened to your show again. He just started shaking his head. He's like, you sound just like you sound in here, and I was like, well, that's because it's me. It's life with me. That's the show. That's the whole idea behind the show. Is it's life with me, right? So it's like, of course, it's me. Like I'm me in here, and I'm me on the show. And he's like, "You're just not a radio voice." I'm like, "No, I'm not a radio voice. I'm not very good at this, really." But I think it's handy. I think it's handy to you. I think you're learning something. I think you guys that stick around, I think we might be trying to get a little bit better. Like, I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm only in my first year. So, I wasn't a very good quarterback my first year, probably. I don't know. I don't remember. But maybe I wasn't all that good at hitting the baseball my first year. But after a while, I kind of figured out how to do that a little bit better. And so that's kind of where we are right now. So I've got multiple things going on. I got timers, and I'm trying to map it out to time it and to see that, so that the what we got going on the radio and what we got going on Facebook, it all matches. So maybe we can make it all match. So that's what we're trying to do, and so we'll get back on it right now. So give me just a second. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We are coming to you. It's Friday night. We're coming to you with all of our social media. We're coming to you on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio and 1420 AM Lubbock Christian Nation. And tonight we are talking about an article of xylitol. So let's get back to it. Appreciate you guys sticking around with us tonight. But so what we got, xylitol is a prothrombotic and associated with cardiovascular risk. Sugar alcohols that many companies use to sweeten foods are produced industrially. Yeah, so you can get sugar alcohols from fruits and vegetables in small forms, in very small amounts. But now we're going to take it in there into the lab, and we're going to synthetically make this, and we're going to make it in mass production so that we can try to decrease the calories and try to decrease the insulin and make it not quite as sweet. Sugar alcohols are low digestible carbs. Your small intestine doesn't completely absorb them. They travel to your large intestine where bacteria ferment them. 8 sugar alcohols are approved for human consumption: erythritol, isomalt, mannitol, sorbitol, lactitol, maltitol, xylitol, hydrogenated starch, hydrolysates. Yeah. So there's the xylitol, erythritol, and mannitol are the most widely used in the food industry. You've probably heard of those before. Xylitol is very commonly used because the taste closely mimics that of sugar. It is a common ingredient in sugar-free chewing gum, mints, and oral care products like toothpaste. It is the sweetest of all sugar alcohols, but has about 40% fewer calories than regular sugar. Now, when they say that, you know, sometimes they say that, and I haven't quite figured out exactly why they're saying it. I think it's saying up here sugar alcohols, your small intestine doesn't completely absorb them, and that's why your calories go down. That's the same thing they use with Splenda. They say that Splenda is a non-caloric sweetener because the reason they say that is because of what they're saying is that your body doesn't absorb it, so you don't have any calories from it. It just passes through you. Well, that not all of it passes through, and so you don't get the reason that they're saying it's non-caloric sweetener is because they're saying that it just passes through you. But if any of it gets into you, then what are you going to do about it? And that's what goes on with Splenda because you do absorb a certain percentage of that, and that's an organochlorine, and that's not good for you at all. Like it's the same thing as what they used to use to sprays in mosquitoes. The DDT that they use for mosquito spray is the same thing too. So that's where they're coming in here and saying xylitol is not it doesn't have as many calories, 40% fewer calories than regular sugar. Erythritol has 70% of the sweetness of sugar, but only 5% of the calories. Maltitol has a very similar taste and mouth feel to regular sugar. It is 75 to 90% as sweet as sugar with almost half the calories. And then sorbitol is 60% as sweet as sugar with about 60% of the calories. It's a common ingredient in sugar-free foods and drinks, including jelly spreads and soft candy. Despite the growing market share of xylitol market share and use of xylitol is processed foods and oral care products. Let me say it again. Despite the growing market share and use of xylitol in processed foods and oral products, the impact of xylitol on cardiovascular event risk has not been reported. So this is their assessment. The major adverse cardiovascular events, they call them MACE, M-A-C-E, major adverse cardiovascular events. Postprandial levels of xylitol were measured in healthy volunteers following ingestion of a xylitol-sweetened 30-gram of water. An exposure comparable with a pint of numerous xylitol-sweetened ice creams, a xylitol-sweetened bakery good, or several pieces of xylitol-sweetened candy. This study assessed a total of 3,306 subjects. Study outcomes were adjusted for age, sex, smoking, diabetes, systolic blood pressure, whole list of stuff right there, okay? Key points from the article. Number one, in light of the obesity pandemic worldwide, measures to reduce sugar intake have become a public health priority. We read that with the World Health Organization. Low-calorie sweeteners are widely used sugar substitutes in processed foods with presumed health benefits. Presumed. Mm-hmm. Many low-calorie sweeteners are sugar alcohols that are also produced endogenously, meaning we make them ourselves, albeit at levels over 1,000-fold lower than observed following consumption as a sugar substitute. That's the key part right there. And that's the part that you got to watch out for because they'll say it's natural. It's a natural sugar. Your body makes it. Well, your body has an innate intelligence. Your body has an innate intelligence, and innate intelligence makes it in the ratio that it can handle it and whatever it can use it for. But when we take it and we go to a lab with it, now all of a sudden we jack it up 1,000 times more than we're supposed to, then we can end up with a problem with it. And that's where that marketing kid is gonna trick you and say, hey, it's all natural, it's organic, it's all natural. We've got natural flavors. It's got natural process, right? Hey, your body makes it. They're going to use all of those terms to make you feel like that you're comfortable with it. Me and you both. I've got mints in here that I've used before that have xylitol in them. I've got chewing gum that's got xylitol in it. Yeah, because I was trying to get away from aspartame. And aspartame, all of a sudden they put aspartame in all the chewing gum for some reason, right? So while artificial sweeteners are generally recognized as safe and are approved by public health authorities, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the European Union, the World Health Organization recently advised against the use of non-sugar sweeteners for weight control in newly released guidelines. Over the past decade, the use of artificial sweeteners has markedly increased in near universal fashion across all subject categories, including gender, age, race, ethnicity, weight status, and geographic and socioeconomic subgroups. The use of artificial sweeteners is recommended for subjects that suffer from cardiometabolic disease, including obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease, by multiple guideline organizations: the American Heart Association and Diabetes Association in the United States, the UK, Canada, and Australia. While their potential long-term cardiovascular adverse effects are rarely studied. That's the thing. Here we go. The use of artificial sweeteners is recommended for subjects that suffer from cardiometabolic disease, including obesity and diabetes, from the American Heart Association so if the American Heart Association says it, then probably your medical doctor is going to say it. And I've lived this right here. My father-in-law went to Baylor Medical. My father-in-law went to Baylor Medical with diabetes and liver disease, cirrhosis of the liver. And the person at Baylor Medical said, hey, just don't have sugar. Just use Splenda, Sweet and Low or Equal. That's what you need to use instead of sugar. That's what they told him at Baylor Medical. They didn't tell him to quit eating that crap. They didn't tell him to get on his feet and move. They didn't mandate that he move. They didn't say, hey, look, if you don't lose 50 pounds, you're not going to get a liver transplant. We mandate that you lose 50 pounds before you get a liver transplant. They didn't do that. They didn't mandate that his blood sugar get under control before he get a liver transplant. They didn't do that either. They told him, here, go ahead, just have some sweetener. Why'd they do that? Because all those people say it's okay. And that lady said, well, we just don't have enough evidence to know whether or not it's true or not. If it's bad for you. Yeah, and then he died. And they put him on a cancer drug because they found cancer. And what do we know about cancer? It's fed with sugar, right? That's why I can't open a donut store. You know how much money I could make with a donut store? That's what they had for 22 years, Mama Tucker's Donut. That's why I couldn't open a donut store. Because as much as I would love to have that money from the income from the donut store, I would love to have that boat, that bass boat that I could go fish with, and that fancy truck to pull that bass boat. I would love to have all that extra money that I could make. But I just can't go to sleep at night thinking about that little strawberry cover, that pink icing covered donut with all those sprinkles on the top of it that I'm going to give to your little girl. I just can't. Now that I know what sugar's all about and I know the detrimental effects of sugar, I just can't make myself open the donut store and be rich and famous. I could have a dozen donut stores. I could be making so much daggone money, it would just be ridiculous. But I just can't. I'm stuck. I'm stuck with that going in there. Because you know that's what your little girl's going to want. That's what my little girl wanted. That's what I did with my little girl when she was little. Because I was just ignorant as heck. So I went into the donut store. That's what my son wanted, the chocolate one with the sprinkles. That's what we had, was box after box after box. And it was all great right up until Bob died of diabetes. Right? Sorry, didn't mean to get off on that. Contrary to their intended benefits, a history of artificial sweeteners in a number of epidemiological studies has been associated with cardiometabolic adverse effects, including insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. So, including atherothrombotic complications and death, blood clots, right? Blood clots. Xylitol is a 5-carbon sugar alcohol that is commonly used as a low-calorie sweetener. It can be found in small quantities in fruits and vegetables, but highly enriched, often over 1,000-fold higher than found in nature, in numerous artificial sweetened foods and beverages. It is marketed as a natural sweetener, keto-friendly, or low-carb, and is generally recommended as a sugar substitute for patients with diabetes to improve glycemic control. Naturally sweetened or keto-friendly processed foods and beverages can contain large amounts of xylitol. In interventional studies, consumption of xylitol sweetened drink enhanced multiple functional measures of platelet responsiveness in all subjects. So here's the findings of the study. Consumption of a typical portion size of a xylitol sweetened drink significantly enhanced multiple indices of platelet responsiveness in healthy volunteers. Circulating levels of xylitol were associated with incidents of major adverse cardiovascular events, the MACE risk. Elevated xylitol levels were associated with increased thrombotic event risk by 80%. It was associated with increased blood clot risk by 80%. The significant association between xylitol levels with incident MACE, which is major adverse cardiovascular events, risk was observed amongst all subgroups examined. That's very important. It was all subgroups examined. A significant increase in platelet responsiveness was observed following xylitol ingestion in every subject. Again, a significant increase in platelet responsiveness was observed following xylitol ingestion in every subject. That's a major statement right there. All 3,300 of the people that were tested, they had increased platelet responsiveness. Platelets clumping together gives you a blood clot, right? Platelet responsiveness to xylitol occurred in a dose-dependent manner. The conclusions of the article. Xylitol enhanced both platelet reactivity and thrombosis potential. Xylitol enhances multiple indices of platelet reactivity and thrombus formation. Circulating levels of xylitol are associated with incident 3-year risk for MACE, MI, stroke, or death. Levels of xylitol are associated with incident major adverse cardiovascular events. Xylitol is both clinically associated with and mechanistically linked to heightened atherothrombotic and cardiovascular disease risk. In the present study, the unambiguous link between plasma levels of xylitol and incident MACE risk was observed in our validation cohort. Collectively, when coupled with recent observation with erythritol, our data suggests that xylitol and erythritol and possibly other sugar alcohol polyol sweeteners act on converging pathways to enhance platelet responsiveness. You might be increasing the chances of getting a blood clot by eating foods that contain xylitol, according to this article. That's what we're sharing with you today. When human subjects ingest a typical dietary amount of xylitol in an artificial sweetened food, multiple functional measures of platelet responsiveness were significantly increased. Xylitol is both clinically associated with cardiovascular event risk and mechanistically linked to enhanced platelet responsiveness and thrombosis potential. We got all that, right? Keep going down here. Levels of xylitol dose dependently enhanced intracellular calcium 2 release, 2+ release, calcium. Many studies, including data analysis from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, have confirmed a dramatic increase of low-calorie sweetener use over the past decade. Xylitol is highly toxic to dogs. There you go. Where it provokes extreme insulin secretion. So don't give your dogs xylitol or any food that contains xylitol. There is a potential adverse class effect of some sugar alcohol sweeteners, a finding that is highly relevant for both the processed food industry and the diets of the more vulnerable subjects most likely to consume multiple artificial sweeteners, like diabetics or obese people, or those with cardiovascular disease. You're diabetic or you're obese or you have cardiovascular disease and you go to the grocery store and you look for something that's low calorie or you look for something that's low sugar and you look and see, oh, it doesn't have any sugar, it's got xylitol. That's better for me. And then you go home and you increase your risk by 80% of having a blood clot. And that's not what you want. You don't want to do that. You want to have a blood clot. Xylitol has been proposed by some as a public health intervention for use in children to prevent dental caries, with recommendation of at least 6 to 10 grams of xylitol daily. I don't think you need any xylitol daily. I don't think you need any xylitol at all. I never have really understood what it was, and now that I've got this article, I love these articles because I learn just as much as you do by going through some of these things. Large amounts of xylitol are typically found in numerous processed foods designed for diabetic diet, like baked pastries, keto ice cream, and confectionaries, often exceeding 30 grams per serving size. Our study suggests that xylitol will likely confer heightened thrombosis potential in the same vulnerable patients that it is marked towards and intended to protect. Long-term safety studies and reappraisal of labeling mandates for the sugar, alcohol, xylitol are warranted. Those boys just come out and say it right there. Like they don't mix anything at all. So this article generated this editorial. Okay, this is an editorial. It's called Xylitol: Bitter Cardiovascular Data for a Successful Sweetener. This is by Jurg H. Beer and Meret Alleman. Key points from the editorial. For many years, the scientific community and the general population alike were convinced that artificial sweeteners were beneficial because they reduced excess sugar intake and hence reduced ingested calories, particularly from soft drinks, thus reducing weight gain and, as implicitly argued, cardiovascular risk. A recent statement of the WHO, World Health Organization, recently in May of 2023 recommends against the use of non-sugar sweeteners to control body weight or to reduce the risk of non-communicable diseases. The report suggests that there may be a potential undesirable effect from long-term use of non-sugar sweeteners, such as the increased risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and mortality in adults. So we've got this. Now let's go back for a second, and let's think about what's happening. Now you're that same kid, okay? Now you're that same kid, and you've graduated from your college with your biochemistry degree, and you are the one that were on the team. You're on the team that made xylitol, and you've been working in the lab to get xylitol in all the food. Now you work for the food industry, and you've been selling the heck out of this xylitol, and you've been making a lot of money, and you got a nice car, and you got a nice house, and you got a 401k, and now all of a sudden an article comes out that says your whole entire life is built on something that's causing blood clots in people. What are you going to do now? And that's a legitimate question, don't you think? I mean, that's legitimate. It's like, what are you going to do now? What are you going to just be like, oh man, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure they didn't mean to do that. They didn't mean that. They're good people. They're like just trying to make a living. I get it. They're just out there in the world just trying to make a living, just like the rest of us are trying to make a living. But except all of a sudden, what they're doing is causing a really bad problem for people. It's not going to just go over really easy. They're not just going to say, oh, yeah, my bad. I shouldn't have done that. I mean, take Fauci and them boys that Francis Collins and those guys. Take all of what they did with that whole thing and that Eco Health Alliance and that Wuhan lab and all that stuff, right? You think those boys, when they got caught and this thing got loose and all of a sudden there's a whole global pandemic, did they come up and say, man, I'm sorry, that was my bad. I shouldn't have done that. We knew what we were doing, and we knew that it was going to get loose, and we knew it was going to kill a lot of people, but we were trying to do something else. Is that what they did? No, it's not what they did. They said they didn't do it. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. Fauci lied over and over and over again when Rand Paul was trying to tell him about calling him to the carpet for all that stuff. They did right. Those boys that are selling those xylitol is going to have a really hard time. They're going to have a hard time getting rid of it all and saying, well, dadgummit, we need to throw all that away. We need to stop that. It's going to be tough on those guys. The recommendation does not apply to low-calorie sugars and sugar alcohols, which are sugar derivatives containing calories and are therefore not considered sugar non-sugar sweeteners. Let's go over that again. The report suggests, this is from the WHO, the report suggests that there may be potential undesirable effects from long-term use of non-sugar sweeteners, such as an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and mortality in adults. The recommendation does not apply to low-calorie sugar and sugar alcohols, which are sugar derivatives containing calories and are therefore not considered non-sugar sweeteners. What a bunch of crap that is. What a bunch of crap that is, that the WHO is going to make that release and they're not going to explain to people that xylitol is not what they're talking about. They're like, how are you supposed to trust those people when they do stuff like that, right? These polyols, sugar alcohols, include sorbitol, xylitol, all those ones I mentioned before, erythritol, those are ones you've probably heard of, and are often termed natural. There's your marketer, and that's in quotes, and implicitly harmless, even beneficial, because they can be extracted from berries, oats, birch, sugarcane, and corn. Xylitol is known to be produced endogenously, but today it is increasingly ingested in 1,000-fold plus quantity compared to the endogenous production. The FDA recognizes them as safe, or generally regarded as safe, meaning, yeah, the FDA does. Yeah, come on, man. We know that by now. We know that we're not falling for that deal. Xylitol is also approved as a food additive in the European Union. The xylitol market is rapidly growing and reached $701 million in 2023. This is attributed to it is marketed as being, quote, natural from our marketing kid. It offers, quote, tooth protection. Hence, it is often in toothpaste. Yes, that may be 100% true. It may offer tooth protection, but it might cause blood clots, right? That happens a lot when we're talking about all this stuff. Instead of just going back to the source, instead of going back to the need for the dopamine in the left hemisphere, instead of saying run those people out of their disease, walk them out of chronic disease, get those kids moving, get them on their feet and get them moving. Instead of doing that, we're going to say that, oh, it offers tooth protection. It has a lower glycemic index, insulin production, than with sucrose. For all these reasons, in this issue of the EHJ, the finding of Marco Witkowski et al. Are important, timely, and serious warning signal because it elegantly shows relevant, alarming cardiovascular complications associated with endogenous and exogenous xylitol, namely major adverse cardiovascular events. First, two carefully studied large independent, basically, it's probably not good for us to eat, right? Don't get rid of your xylitol, make yourself healthy. Hey, I think we did it. We've come to the end of the show. I appreciate you guys for listening. I hope we got it all recorded properly. I hope it came through on the radio. I hope it came through tonight. I can't wait to get back on Monday and talk to you guys about what we learned from Dr. Huberman, and especially how much time I got to hang out with MJ, Katie, and Chaley. So you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday.